We are kicking off this newscast with a subject that could have a big impact on your life.
We're talking about the massive across-the-board budget cuts known as the sequester, and if Congress doesn't act by March 1st, $85 billion in federal spending cuts automatically go into effect.
So how is this going to affect you? Well, the budget cuts could mean fewer TSA agents and air traffic controllers, creating longer lines at airport security checks and heavier backups at takeoff. Also, you would have to start planning for longer waits at border ports of entry. The reductions could seriously roll back border security, something Janet Napolitano says would be, quote, destructive to our nation's security and to our economy. And as Not on Your Side's Craig Smith found out, southern Arizona will take a big hit if the sequester kicks in. Craig joins us live in the newsroom this evening with more from our representatives who explain the local impact.
Jennifer, the sequester threat gives you a better understanding of how much the federal government affects you. Even if you don't depend on a federal program or a federal paycheck, your business may depend on the money that comes from those paychecks.
Airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines are not the only workers who keep the military flying and fighting. Matt Sherman works at Davis-Monthan. He says about 2,800 civilian employees at that base alone fear furloughs that would cut their pay 20%.
I barely make it now, and I don't see how I'm going to make it with 20% less.
Congressman Ron Barber pulled together people to outline how federal cuts would affect them, you, and Arizona. For the first year alone, they'd cut millions from education, police, fire, transportation, parks, housing. The food bank expects more demand as the sequester's ripple effect costs jobs. In health care, the sequester's 2% cut in Medicare could make it tough for patients at health centers like DaVita Dialysis to cover their costs. For Charles Parker, the impasse in Congress has been frustrating. Now it's life-threatening.
If I didn't have the services, I would die, as would almost everybody else in here.
He says if Medicare cuts back, it would be a burden to dig deeper into his pocket for the life-saving treatment. Melesio Mercado has a lot of the same concerns.
There's no way that I can actually pay the money that goes from Medicare into dialysis.
Congressman Barber says if congressional leaders had not forced a recess, he'd be in D.C. right now, urging colleagues to compromise their way out of the crisis.
Why do you think we've reached such a point of brinksmanship where crises are created as a way to try to force some action?
You're right about crisis being created. Some of these issues that we're talking about today really are manufactured.
We asked Charles Parker what he might say to Congress and the president.
I'm not sure it would be acceptable for your TV camera, sir. I'm pretty upset about it.
Now, there is a lot of concern about how those forced furloughs will leave Border Patrol short-staffed and leave ports of entry so short of customs inspectors that it'll choke off billions of dollars of business from legal cargo moving in from Mexico.
Craig, so Congressman Barber is talking. What can he do as of now?
Well, he says he and the rest of Congress are headed back to D.C. to go back in session on Monday. He is still holding out some hope that reason will prevail. They'll prevent across-the-board cuts and work on a more focused, less disastrous way to balance the budget.
Craig, thank you. Here at Not on Your Side, we give our viewers a voice, and we'd like to hear from you. Should Congress allow automatic spending cuts to take effect if it cannot reach an agreement for resolving the deficit? That is our question of the day, and you can let us know what you think at KGUN9.com.